Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, romance novelists, and your K-romance guides. So grab some dekboki and listen to your new favorite unnies.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hi there.
So first of all, I am excited to see you guys. I feel like we have all been super busy, so we haven't been on Slack as much. But I literally an hour ago, so I was like pushing it, finished Physical 100, and I want to just talk about it for a minute. I don't think either of you watched the first season, did you? It was just me. It's funny because right before we were recording, we were talking about sports a little bit because Leah's going to her first baseball game this weekend. So we're all excited for her and hope she has fun at her sports ball event. But anyway, so I think I am more of the sports fan of the three of us. So Physical 100 is a reality show on Netflix. And I know that some of you listeners are watching it because I've seen you post about it. Season 1 was last year, I think. And I did watch it and I really loved it. And I just finished season 2 and I binged this in like 2 days. I could not stop. It's 9 episodes. Most of them are an hour. The last one was like an hour and a half, the like finale.
So you spent basically 2 days doing this.
Other than writing, I was, yeah. Like my kitchen is a disaster. Anyway, I love Physical 100. And I feel like I was trying to think today, like why I loved it so much, because it's an athletic competition. And I'm talking the athletes that they get on this show are incredible. Like we're talking Olympic athletes, like Olympic wrestlers from South Korea, like top-notch athletes from that country that are incredible. And I think also what I love most about it is it's like heartwarming. Like I'm the type of person that like sports make me cry. Like Rudy will make me like bawl.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I saw Rudy. Absolutely.
I'm a big like crier when it comes to like sports stuff. I don't know. Like when my husband ran a marathon, I cried when he was done.
I cry at marathons too.
I cry at stuff like that. And there is something about Physical 100 that gives me the same feeling because it's not cutthroat. Like I think about if you would take the same premise and put it in America, it would be like awful. Like I really think it would be mean, bitter, unwatchable. And I also think you would have people acting out and doing things in order to like go viral and be famous in a way that like they're just not doing on Physical 100 in like South Korean society. And a lot of it is like retired athletes as well, probably because they don't want to perform on this show when they're at like the peak of their careers or whatever. And the respect the like younger athletes give to the elders just gets me.
How old are the elders?
So I think the oldest on this season 2 is 43. And he's a former, like, he was the first South Korean who was signed to the UFC. He was an MMA fighter. I think he was called the Stun Gun. I think that was like his like name. His like moniker or whatever. And there were a couple others that were like in their 40s. And that's nuts because I'm 41. And to see what these people do, these physical challenges are insane. Like, I can't believe these people can do this. And I guess what I was thinking that I'd compare it to is it's like, it's going to sound crazy, but it's like the British baking show, but physical competition. Like, I don't think either of you watch the British baking show, do you?
I have not.
The British baking show, the thing about that, it's like the same thing. Like, it's a competition, but they're all rooting for each other. And they'll even like help each other out because they're like British and nice. And that's kind of the way Physical 100, like it's a competition, but as soon as the competition is over, they're like, oh, I really respect you. You know, you did great. There's no like bickering ever. And I don't know, man. I just want people to watch it because I just think it'll make people, it's like heartwarming. It'll make you happy. So I guess what I just wanted to tell our listeners that, I don't know, sometimes if I'm not always feeling like engaging in a full drama, but Physical 100 like fit the bill. So that's it. I think you guys should watch it. I don't know. You might be like, what? Because it's also a lot of people.
I'm not like opposed to it or anything. It just isn't something that I would normally gravitate towards. But like when you brought up Rudy, and then I started thinking, I'm like, I have watched many sports movies in my lifetime.
See, this gives me the feel of a sports movie.
And like Rudy, Remember the Titans.
Yes. Oh my God. Remember the Titans. Don't even get me started. I would. And because in Physical 100, they perform as individuals, but then they also perform as teams. And the bonds that they form as teammates is incredible to me. And they're so supportive of each other.
That's cool that they have team stuff too.
Yeah, they form teams, and I just love it. And they just they really push themselves to the limits. And of course, it's shot with a K-drama, so something happens, and it's a slow-mo shot in 5 different angles.
You know what, this is just
someone falls,
like a K-drama.
Someone falls, and it's
like the 3-time kiss.
Exactly.
It just make me remember that during our Patreon Live over the weekend, when someone recommended Hot Stove League.
Oh, right.
I'm like, there's sports dramas out there that are supposed to be really good too. So maybe we should. Think about taking a look.
Prison Playbook was sort of a sports drama,
It was
a little bit
ish.
There was that drama.
I mean, you could say Happiness was sort of a sports drama too. Then
wait, look, I'm gonna say no on both counts.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
I'm kidding. I don't think Happiness is a sports drama.
I don't know. Prison Playbook had a sports element to it for sure.
But it took place mostly in prison.
It did, but
and not on the baseball field.
I know, but a lot of its motivation was fueled by it, and the fact that he had to learn to, slight spoiler, he had to learn to throw with a different hand. That's all sports stuff.
Look, I hear what you're saying. I would say that this is a great dovetail into our theme for today of where we have the gray areas of something.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would say in that case, it was a dramedy with sport elements.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually think that is, I will totally accept that. Just it has very minor romantic elements. Very minor.
Mm-hmm.
The sports elements. If we're ranking it, sports elements are higher.
Prison first.
Right. Prison first.
Prison first. then sports. Then romance.
Prison first.
Do not mistake if you are listening, if you've never watched Prison Playbook, it's about being in prison.
It is. He's in prison the whole drama. The whole dramedy.
It is a dramedy for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're not talking about dramedies today. We're talking about rom-coms today. Tonight's episode came about thanks to one of our patrons. So I'm going to give a shout out to Katie for giving us an idea for an entire show when we asked for questions for our uncensored that we did last week. So we touched on this last week as far as what kinds of comedy we like, but we realized that we could do a much deeper dive into the rom-com of K-dramas. So here we go. As always, we do our best not to spoil dramas for you, but since this is not a full drama deep dive, there will be no non-spoiler section, just a section where we're not talking about dramas for a little bit, and then we'll get into dramas. And if something that we're going to say is going to have a sort of spoiler, we'll give you a heads up, but I don't think we're really going to spoil anything with tonight's episode. So there you go.
We'll do our best not to.
Yeah, we'll do our best, but we always give a heads up. So before we get into the whole of rom-com, let's talk about just comedy in general. And this is a quote from the Mayo Clinic. So this is legit stuff, right? Although I think we've all heard this before. When it comes to relieving stress, more giggles and guffaws are just what the doctor ordered. Here's why. Whether you're guffawing at a sitcom on TV or quietly giggling at a newspaper cartoon, laughing does you good. Laughter is a great form of stress relief. And that's no joke. So this is on Mayo Clinic.
Thank you, Mayo Clinic.
I know. I'm you know what? Mayo Clinic can put a little comedy in there too.
This podcast is going to add years to our lives.
Right? Exactly. So in general, going off of that, what is your take just on comedy in general? Whether it's something you're watching or reading, do you seek it out? Or are you happy if it pops up, but you don't need extra laughs in your life? And before either of you answer, I want to bring something up. I want to bring something up that kind of, and I'm going to maybe catch you off guard with this, Leah, because it kind of floored me. So I posted something on Facebook yesterday, the day before, maybe. And it just showed up in my feed. Like, you know how you get like random stuff from random pages that you are not a part of, but it just shows up in your feed. And it was a still from the movie Summer School from 1987. And the caption was, I know Mark Harmon from this, not from NCIS. And if you're listening, you're like, I don't know who Mark Harmon is. He is an actor who was very, very big in the 80s and continued to do stuff as he got older. But if you don't watch stuff like NCIS, you probably don't know who he is.
I have no idea who he is.
Okay. Well, you liked this post.
I did?
You did. I was like, Leah has seen Summer School?
Wait, I liked a post on Facebook for you?
Yes. I was, and that's why I went.
Was this Sunday night?
It might have been. I don't know. It wasn't yesterday, so it could have been. I don't remember.
I did like it. I've never seen this in my entire life.
I was like, speaking of comedies, so Megan, you're probably too young for this one because this movie's from like 1987.
What else did you like, Leah?
I'm scared.
What did you click on Facebook?
Look, I started watching The Queen's Tears, and if you've watched The Queen's Tears,
Queen of Tears.
Queen of Tears. I'm just saying, I'm having a moment where I'm like, why am I losing time right now?
So this movie is a comedy.
I've never seen it, by the way.
Very into when I was in high school. And it's one of those movies that like my friends and I to this day, like can still quote. It was like our favorite movie in high school. And just, I mean, it's a silly, like teen comedy, not even teen. There's adults in it too. Anyway, it's about a PE teacher who gets roped into teaching summer school at the end of the year for like people who flunked English, and he knows nothing about English. And that's the Mark Harmon character. And like Kirstie Alley's in it. Like this is,
oh wow, yeah,
this is old.
Yeah.
So what made me laugh is I was like, I don't think this is the kind of comedy that Leah likes.
Oh, right.
No. I mean, I don't even know how I'd be like this. I'm alarmed.
I'm glad that I asked you off the cuff then and did not warn you about this. This is cracking me up. So I will say I like comedy in all forms, and I do seek it out. Like I like to watch stand-up. I went and saw Brett Goldstein live. Like I like watching stand-up live. I like watching it on Netflix. I like rom-coms. I like just flat out comedy. So yes, I do seek it out. I like to laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I want to say that I don't like pranks. And it was funny because we're recording this on April 3rd. April 1st it's my least favorite day of the year. I despise pranks and I hate April Fools. They don't make me laugh. But I think if you listen to this podcast at all, you know that like I love to laugh. I laugh all the time. Sometimes I listen to our podcasts like back and I'm like, oh my God, I was giggling for 75% of the podcast. Like, can I talk normal? I'm just laughing like the whole time because I like to laugh. I like things that are funny. Like I do love comedy. I like comedy movies. I like comedy in my books. I like to be delighted and I like to laugh.
Who is going to be like, no, I just don't like to laugh.
No, I mean like seeking it out. Like some people don't like,
right.
Not everybody likes to watch stand up. You know what I mean? Like not everybody likes to just watch somebody tell jokes.
So first, just really funny for April Fools. The book that I have coming out in November is called Puck and Prejudice. And it's a time travel. It's like so K-drama'd out, which is so funny because no one would know unless like you just know about like tropes in K-drama, I guess. And so it's a hockey player travels back in time and meets like a fictional friend of Jane Austen's and they have an affair. And so the book is called Puck and Prejudice. There's a hockey player on the front and like a woman in full like Bridgerton Regency wear. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to schedule a cover reveal for April 1st. Forgot completely. I mean, I guess I am just losing it. So I completely
Did
forgot
you decide this on
Fools.
Sunday night?
No. Look, Sunday night, I just had a lot of gin and tonics and woke up having bought Weezer tickets with only the vaguest memory. That's what we're referring to.
And apparently liking Amy's Facebook.
And liking my Facebook post.
Yeah, because my kids, we took my kids and flew them to Arizona where they're spending the week with their grandparents for spring break. So I had a couple friends over. My husband was home. I made some gin and tonics. Apparently I was having some laughs apparently. But anyway, so I did this cover reveal for April 1st, and what was unexpectedly delightful was how many people were like, wait, is this, somebody even wrote in the comments, have the courage to wait, what was it? Have the courage to release this, you cowards.
You're like, we are.
And I was like, I fucking am.
This is real.
And so many people were like, is this real? Not real? It was like PETA at the end of the Hunger Games. I was like, this is real. So that was funny. But for me, look, I like it. I think I like dark humor quite a lot, like Deadlock. If anyone's seen Deadlock, that's really up my humor alley. Fleabag is up my humor. I like dirty in my humor, or like tongue in cheek, or kind of black humor. I think that works for me a lot more than like happy go lucky slapstick. Although we are going to talk about some others that I like. I mean, there's some well tread comedy that I've liked in my time, but like, I don't watch Saturday Night Live every week, but I will like go and watch, like, if clips are on, I'm going to watch them.
Yeah, same. Although Kristen Wiig is hosting this weekend, so I will watch the whole thing.
Yeah. And so, Adam Driver in Saturday Night Live is like my absolute favorite thing in the world.
The best.
He's like the oil baron.
Yes, that's my most favorite. I mean, like, that's my most favorite sketch on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, so I want to laugh in my life. Yes, I prefer laughing, mostly about dirty things like a 12-year-old boy.
And that's fine. So we are talking about rom-coms tonight, right? So we could look at this from like our writer's perspective, or, you know, watching movies, whatever. But like, why do you think like rom-coms are even a thing? Like, why is the romantic comedy concept something that works? Because not everything works with comedy, right? But why does romance work with comedy?
Because I think falling in love is inherently mortifying.
That's very true. I love that.
I love that.
And
too.
so, you know, to become like truly in love, you have to be so vulnerable. And to become really vulnerable, I think comedy helps you strip away the layers.
And I also think inherently, like, embarrassing things happen when you're falling in love. You do things that are maybe out of the norm for yourself, because you're maybe trying to impress someone that you have a crush on. And so I think it's easy to incorporate comedy into that.
And you're nervous too, right? Like when that, like, you want to put forward like your best version of yourself, but it's probably like the most anxiety ridden experience. To first start having feelings for somebody, and
always, yeah.
And then be like, oh my God, they have to see me naked.
I mean, well, not like my first crush, but in like middle school. I was just talking about passing by their locker, and Leah goes right to naked.
Well, I mean, I was thinking more like,
I know.
Leah's like, let's just get this out of the way. Takes off all her clothes.
Look, when I was 12, I liked my crush so much. His name was Mike, that I drew an entire portrait out of the name Mike of Mike.
Oh my God. Why does that
just
not
like a mosaic, like drawing Mike really small?
I just kept writing Mike. Yeah. And I made like this whole Mike thing.
Where is Mike today?
No. And then I found Mike on Facebook. He was not as cool as I basically unleashed my 12-year-old journal onto Facebook, just because this was like 10 years ago, because it was so funny. Like, I just found it. There was like the Mike drawing. I had these like, I was dedicating Wilson Phillips songs to him.
My God.
Like, intensely. I was writing I was rewriting lyrics to Wilson Phillips for Mike.
Stop.
He was a redheaded Canadian lad.
Oh, Mike.
And I was like, and then somebody was like, you should see if he's on Facebook, not to like date him because I was married, but to be like, this is funny. And I was like, this is funny.
It's hilarious.
And I would think it was funny. Yeah. So I reached out to him. I found him first, which was like exciting. And like, he thought it was funny, but maybe not as funny as it was. Like, it was way more funny than he acted like it was. I think he was kind of like, that's cool, but weird. I'm like, this is comedy gold.
Right, it is. You dodged a bullet with Mike. If he can't laugh about that,
no, he was kind of like LA, honestly. Like, he was kind of like LA too cool. I was like, oh, the charm. There was no charm. It was like too, it just like the vibes weren't like, he wasn't just like, I was like, I wasted my mics.
Yeah, if you can't laugh at my mosaic of mics.
My mosaic of mics.
I mean, screw it. Laugh, but I was like, it's much funny. Like, it's really funny. I want to find the picture to share because I still have the picture.
You are like explicitly explaining, like with your experience, why romance and comedy work together, because falling in love is funny.
Yeah, good
like,
job.
It's funny.
Good job.
We do funny shit. We do funny shit when we're falling in love.
We do.
Good
Or when we
real
have a
life
crush on
example.
someone. Yeah, that was awesome. Do you want to talk about romance and books right now, Leah? Like, I kind of moved your comment up. I was like, this would be a good place to toss it in if you want to.
So I just wanted to make the point as we start to talk about this, because we do write books, that in writer years, they're kind of like dog years. So if we're like, oh, we've been writing for like around 10 years, people are like, oh, that's like a reasonable time to write. In writing years, it's like 3 million years. We're like, take us out back. It's time to put Rover
dinosaurs.
down years. Even though, like, whatever. And so when we first started writing, I can remember that we would like go to romance conferences and things like that. And even those have morphed so much, but it used to just be so heavily dominated by traditional publishing. And that's not to say that traditional publishing still doesn't like have a big seat at the table, but they were like the seat at the table basically at that time. And there was a lot of conversation when you would go into these conferences where there'd be a bunch of like editors and agents essentially up in front of the rooms that were saying, you do not want to pitch us anything labeled rom-com or chick lit, quote unquote, which is like such a horrific name. I hate the word chick lit.
Chick lit's
but
terrible.
just like that idea of like the cutesy 90s, like shopaholic series covers all of the trends which have come back, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? See Puck and Prejudice, for example, one.
But like that is real.
A book that is real.
That is coming in November. Yes.
Does not have Mike in it, but should. But yeah, it was just this time where it was like, that was not seen. Like, if you were like, oh, I have this book and it's a rom-com and I'm going to pitch it to someone, they were automatically going to be like, nope, like it is deader than a dead fish.
Yeah. My first new adult novel, my debut was rom-com-ish, and they tried to promote it as that, and it like flopped because at the time that was just not selling at all. They wanted that angsty.
Call it what they were trying to call it at the time. I remember our editor actually, because we had the same editor at Avon at that point, was saying what we need to be calling it is fresh, young, contemporary voices.
Like, okay.
And so we went really dark. So there was a period, like I think when we first broke out in publishing, we broke out in such a weird time because none of us wrote especially dark.
No.
And dark was the thing.
Yep.
And so
like
everything
angsty,
was dark.
Like very
it had to be
angsty.
like angsty. You needed to have tattoos and like selective mutism from a trauma and like a biker who like fucks you back to speech. Like, it was a wild time.
It was a wild time.
I mean, I think that's like the premise of the book.
You are not wrong.
I'm actually like describing a book right now that I'm not going to name, but like,
wrong.
Yeah.
Everyone had massive, massive trauma. Like you think rain trauma is a trauma. You have not met the trauma of new adult books in 2010.
Yeah. And that was what was like topping the charts essentially.
Well,
was
2014,
like,
but yeah.
New adult, heavily, heavily, heavily dark. And then we moved into kind of just like more of like the stepbrother phase. So there like stepbrother took over. And like, I'm never going to say no to like an incest light book.
We know.
And it got too much for me. I was like, every fucking book
was stepbrother.
Is stepbrother. Like, I'll take a stepbrother gladly. But every single book. Remember, it even got to where there was a lawsuit about the step.
There was.
What was it? Cocky stepbrother or something?
Yep.
And then it was like, you can't say cocky. I've patented the word cocky.
Oh, it was insane. That was a wild time. Really, truly.
Yeah,
The wild, wild west of publishing.
And so we swung from like the darkness and then like the super sexy and the incest heavy to, I mean, look, I think the field is very broad now because self-publishing has opened so many doors that you really can just find any happy place.
Mhm.
But within that, there has been this like very strong rise in the last, 4 or 5 years back into rom-com.
Mhm. And now it's like back to the illustrated covers again. Like Shopaholic was like kind of illustrated, or at least like clip art, not, I don't want to say clip art, but object-based covers. And now you're getting back to like object-based covers again, or at least like illustrated people, you know?
It's very, very jarring almost now to see a cover that has just like a human,
right?
Like an actual human on the front.
I mean, in my alien sci-fi romance world, we're still doing the naked torso bin. That's still rules.
But yours is like in the weird gray area of it's the naked torso. It does have like stylistic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is very
like it looks
very
like it looks
beautiful.
alien.
Right.
Like it's not like you're not going to do cartoon aliens. Like you're just not.
But you don't have like a stock photo of a guy with horns either. Like it is photo, like, you know,
it's
like
art.
there's been application to the art.
It's art
for sure.
But, you know, when we were first like, for example, when my first book came out, it was a big deal that they were going to like shoot my cover and have like the model. Remember, we had Don Hood, model extraordinaire,
who we all still follow on Instagram because he's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's fantastic. But it was like a thing where they would like cast models and then like the models would pose and shoot and photo shoot. And then you'd get the behind the scenes of like their photo shoots and whatever.
Then it went to mostly stock photos.
Then I went to stock photos, and then the stock photos were hard because you would have a book, you'd have the same photos just be circulated around and around and around.
Readers
my first book has the same stock photo as a Jill Shalvis book.
Oh yeah, and readers wouldn't know, so sometimes they would like message us and be like, so and so stole your photo. And bless their hearts, like, thank you. But
I was like, no, look, you can go buy this photo too.
Yeah, you can put it on your made up cover as well. Go ahead. Like, you know.
Yep.
Good times.
So yeah, I guess I was just wanting to bring it up because it is an interesting shift in publishing where now I would say that not every book, but it is a very common thing now. If you're looking at like what's popular and what's selling, it's highly rom-com and really trying to like limit the angst as well. Like often like leading like low angst or cinnamon roll hero. Like those are all the buzzwords that you're hearing now. Things that don't need to be in every rom-com, but just kind of a lot of the conventions you would expect to see in a rom-com are really what's like leading the market right now. Which I'm wondering is also like when you think about where the world was, 10 years ago, where the world is now, it doesn't surprise me that people are like, I want more light and laughter.
That lightness in my life
totally makes sense to me.
100%.
It does. It does make sense to me that people want the laughter right now.
And I think,
but the trends cycle. The trends definitely cycle.
And I think the trends have also gone with like, with film too, because rom-com movies were not a thing for a long time, and now they're slowly starting to like.
I know we're starting to see some more rom-coms. It's really cool.
And it would be nice if this time the rom-coms felt more like, to me personally, to my taste, would be like the Greta Gerwig Barbie vibes, as opposed to kind of like the Judd Apatow, like more like bro things that we were getting for rom-com.
Yeah, like have it written by a woman. And
as a start.
Yes. Written and directed by women. Rom-coms would be very nice to see. Like we would like to see like the 2024 and beyond, like Nora Ephron.
I was just going to say, like, we grew up in the Nora Ephron era and we were very lucky to have that. And yeah.
All right. Let's dive into it.
Yeah. So what is the first thing that you could remember watching or reading? Well, no, we do books in a minute. What's the first thing you remember watching that made you a fan of rom-coms?
Okay. So I'm going to go with two because I feel like I had kind of like a renaissance when it came to rom-coms. So first was Mannequin. So this is a
oh my God.
I know.
I remember Mannequin.
I'm going way back, but I cannot tell. This was from 1987.
Kim Cattrall and Andrew McCarthy.
Thank you. Kim Cattrall, yes. Andrew McCarthy, 1987. I was obsessed with this movie, and I was a little girl because I was born in 83. So I probably saw it late 80s. So Mannequin is about a mannequin who's Kim Cattrall, like a department store mannequin, and she comes to life. And she falls in love with Andrew McCarthy, who I don't even remember what he does. Like
I don't either.
I don't remember.
I don't either.
And it is incredible because he gets to they have secret rendezvous, and he's the only one who knows she's a real person because she'll turn into a mannequin for other people. So they have this secret thing, and they really fall in love, and he gets to show her all these experiences that she's never had. And she's drop dead gorgeous, and she always has cool clothes because she's a freaking mannequin at a department store. So she has all these neat clothes. And I forget why, but there's one part where I'm sorry, I'm spoiling Mannequin. It's a movie from 1987, but there's an end part where she's about to be chopped up by a mannequin.
Like a wood chipper.
Yeah, like a wood chipper.
Isn't it
Yeah, I guess they need to get rid of them. They're just oh, there's too many mannequins, so we're just gonna chop them up.
And then she turns real in the chipper,
yeah,
doesn't she?
And he has to save her.
Oh my God.
And it's so dramatic, and they are so in love, and I was obsessed. I
saw this movie in the theater because I'm older than you, and
Oh,
I
wow.
remember. I'm sure I saw it more than once. That's how much I loved it.
Yeah, I really, really loved it. And then, I watched 80s rom-coms were the 80s rom-coms. We have all seen them, but I sort of fell out of love a little bit with rom-coms. And then I had a big moment when The Girl Next Door came out. So it came out in 2000. This is the one, not the one with, oh gosh, I don't remember her name. Okay, this came out in 2004. And this starred Alicia Cuthbert and Alicia Cuthbert and Emile Hirsch. Timothy Oliphant was in it too. So I cannot tell you, this brought me back. I was obsessed with this movie. So it's about a high school boy who's a total dork, and a beautiful, beautiful woman moves in next door, and turns out she's a porn star. But she's very much an ingenue kind of porn star. And she's also kind of on the run. She wants to quit, but her manager or whatever is trying to get her to come back. And there's action, they have to run from her crazy manager. It's sexy. There is so much about this movie that I don't know. It just got me. And I actually wrote a book that I said was I think the problem was the movie wasn't as popular. So it's not you say Pretty Woman and everyone knows what Pretty Woman is. I don't think people knew enough about The Girl Next Door, because I wrote a book and I said that it was my college version of The Girl Next Door. I don't think anyone really got that because no one knew enough about the movie.
No, I didn't see it. I just know of it as soon as you said Alicia Cuthbert. I've never seen it though.
I'm sorry, it's so good. So that was sort of the movie that made me fall back in love with rom-coms, because there was also it's obviously newer, very much early 2000s, and it came out when I was it came out when I was in college. So to me, and even though this was kind of high school characters, but yeah, I loved it.
And I'm more tell me more about Timothy Oliphant.
Oh, he's the manager. He's the crazy
I figured
manager.
He probably was,
but he's so good.
He's so hot. He's so hot.
I think you would really like The Girl Next Door, Amy. It's very good, and it's very funny, and I think you would get it. You know what I mean? It's more, I guess I would say it's more in line with Clue, the time period of Clue, you know what I mean? Those early 2000s movies. But
yeah.
To me, it felt superior. It wasn't She's All That and those types.
She's All That.
Yeah, remember? Or you don't know what I'm talking about? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
no, I know what you're
Freddie
talking
Prinze
about.
Jr.,
Yeah.
Rachel Lee Cook.
When they have a dance break at prom. Mob dance.
They go to a foam party in that one, I think, don't they?
Which
Or
is
is
the
that a
one
different-
where they're
No, that might be a different Freddie
funk
Prinze
show,
Jr. one.
brother, check it out now. And they
Yeah,
do a
that's
whole dance.
the foam one. Yeah, that's the foam one.
Yeah, but I mean that's from She's All That, right?
Okay, that's what I was saying.
I think
is that one, or is it a different?
No, I think it's that.
different. Freddie Prinze.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just keep mine really short. So I have seen debate on this, and I don't care. This is my podcast, and I'm going to do what I want. So I'm going to go with The Princess Bride. Is it a rom-com?
Yes.
You know what? Fuck it.
Yes.
Sure. Yes. For me, a rom-tastical
Yes.
rom-com. Yes.
Yes.
It's the first thing I ever saw that was like, feels like it fit the bill, that I was still pretty young. Like it was sometime in the late 80s when I saw it. And I was kind of like, what is this? This is wild. And I really like it. So that's one. I feel like I have never gotten past Princess Bride in many ways. I've read the book. I just loved the movie. But then another one was when we lived in Italy. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because we moved to Italy and we would get VHSs sent to us from my family in the US because they were basically like worried we weren't going to have enough English content to watch. And 2 videos did I watch quite a lot. One was the original Batman with Michael Keaton, and the other one was Groundhog's Day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I know Groundhog's Day really well too. And I feel like that fits a very good rom-com vibe.
Yeah. I haven't seen that forever.
Punxsutawney Phil.
Punxsutawney Phil. Yeah.
Bill
Murray.
Andy McDowell. It's a good one. I like it.
I think I just read that Punxsutawney Phil, because I live in Pennsylvania, that's where Punxsutawney is. He's like a dad.
Had a baby.
Yeah, he had a baby. He's like a dad now, so good for him.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Punxsutawney. Who knew how special this podcast was going to get?
Did not put a rubber on it.
I think
I make jokes, but they're dirty.
Yeah.
I think I'm going all the way back to like 1987 too, and that is with When Harry Met Sally. That is my all-time fave. It is the one that I remember most clearly, as far as realizing I want to watch everything that has Meg Ryan in it. You know, I want her to be the romance heroine in everything I watch, and she was for a long time, and I loved her in all of those. And I think that's, you know, you realize what tropes you like too, right? And like I like friends to lovers, and I love the idea that you can be, and we'll talk about this more when we get into tropes in a little bit, but I love the idea that you can be around somebody for years and not realize that they are the right person for you in the story, right? Like, I don't know how much that happens in real life, but I just, I love that the perfect person for you is there all along. And I also remembered thinking when I first saw the movie that, like, because I knew Billy Crystal, but I just knew him as like funny guy from Saturday Night Live. And I'm like, I can't imagine Billy Crystal as like a romantic hero. And he's one of my favorite, like, romantic heroes. So there you go.
Do you have a favorite rom-com that you go back to time and again? A comfort rom-com. Did I say that, or did I say favorite? I meant comfort.
It works. That works. I mean, aside from that one, that one for sure. Anything with Meg Ryan, so like Sleepless in Seattle, I love that too. 13 Going on 30 and The Proposal are 2 that my daughter and I have watched over and over again. So I love that, like, now I have that connection with her with rom-com. So you know, some of the more recent ones. 13 Going on 30 was her first one, and so that holds like a very special place in her heart. While You Were Sleeping, like Sandra Bullock rom-coms, those, I mean, she's in The Proposal too, so she's obviously one of my favorite leading ladies as well. I could watch those over and over again.
So yeah, for me, Princess Bride, always. No more writing, and I mean it. Anybody got a peanut? I can do pretty much the whole movie by heart. I love it so much. Some other ones, I really love Crazy Rich Asians, a newer rom-com.
So good.
I think it's super fun. I've watched it probably about 3 or 4 times now. I really love Taika Waititi in general, all of his movies, but Eagle versus Shark is a rom-com that he does that's super fun, and it has Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords for anyone who likes that brand of obscure humor, because that is right up my alley. So it's a New Zealand set rom-com. And then look, 10 Things I Hate About You, because Heath Ledger, you can't go wrong.
I bring that up later too. That's a really good one.
I love 10 Things.
Yeah, forgot about that as far as a rewatch, and I have seen that one multiple times. And I even, in one of my books, like, that movie comes up where I have the hero play the heroine. Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, like, to like fake serenade her.
Yeah, I honestly don't rewatch movies almost never, unless it's like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I definitely don't rewatch rom-coms, and I don't know why. I think it's
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's like once I get the happily ever after, I'm done. I don't want to go back. And I know it's weird. I don't reread books. I reread books very, very rarely. Only like a few. If I'm going to rewatch a movie, it's usually going to be like an action movie. Like I'll rewatch like John Wick as many times. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I hit the HEA and I'm like done and dusted. Like that is over. I don't know. It's very odd.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. So I didn't know. I was like, I don't have one because I never rewatch them.
I mean, that's a good question for people. Like, I just assumed that everybody had like a comfort rewatch.
My comfort
not
rewatch
everybody
is apparently John Wick shooting people. Like, apparently that is my comfort rewatch.
I was going to be like, it's probably Fast and the Furious for Megan.
I have rewatched Fast and the Furious. I have. I mean, I know. I don't know. Something about like why are my comfort movies like action romances? I think it's because I don't have to listen to the dialogue. So like that's what I'm saying. Like if I'm gonna rewatch something, I kind of don't want to have to pay attention like fully, so I can like multitask and like put it on the background. But like I don't need to listen to John Wick. Like I know what's going on.
The Sound of Music is my ultimate comfort rewatch. If we're gonna talk about just rewatches, Captain Von Trapp blowing his whistle.
Yeah. Ugh.
It's just. Fuck.
Ripping the Nazi flag. So good.
Yeah, I mean,
very hot.
Christopher
Plummer. My daughter's musical that she's going to be in 20 days. She's Mother
What's
Abbess.
Her role?
Mother Abbess. She gets to sing.
So she gets to sing
Climb Every Mountain.
Mountain. That's a good one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Climb every mountain.
That's a good song.
Okay, so this is going to bring up some interesting discussion. I like what you guys have written for this stuff. So I found a blog post online from romcomfest.com. And this apparently was like a Hollywood rom-com festival that happened in 2019. And then I think the pandemic happened and then it never happened again. But it was like put out there by like people in like the entertainment industry. Like, you know, this was a legit festival all about rom-coms. And I think it would have been a very fun thing to be a part of. But it doesn't happen anymore. So what I did find, though, is that there was a blog post called The 7 Types of Rom-Coms and Why We Love Each of Them. And it was on romcomfest.com. I am not saying that this is the be all and end all of what rom-coms are, but I thought this was a good start to talking about the types of tropes that we can have in rom-coms and why they might be funny. So I thought there's 7 of them. We can each, you know, like take a couple and read.
Sure. I can do the first 2.
Okay.
So number 1, opposites attract, which we often refer to as enemies to lovers. 2 people with nothing in common. The author uses Josh and Cher from Clueless as an example. Great example. Who seemingly hate each other but end up falling in love by the end.
And bonus, stepbrother.
Bonus. I love it. Number 2, the bet or the lie. So think about movies like While You Were Sleeping, where Lucy has to keep up the lie that she and Peter are engaged when they've never even met. Or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, where Andy, looking for something to write about in her column, decides to do a piece on how quickly she can make a guy break up with her. Unbeknownst to her, she picks Ben, a guy convinced he can make any woman fall in love with him in 10 days. So we have a double bet lie that ends up blowing up in their faces when they actually fall for each other.
I can do the next 2 if you want.
Okay.
Or do you want to do it?
No, I don't care.
Okay. Then we have the friend who was there all along. The hero and heroine go the whole movie trying to find love with other people when all along they've been in love with each other, their best friend, which is When Harry Met Sally, or insert any other friends to lovers rom-com here. Then we have the ensemble. This is where we get multiple HEAs in one story. This post gives He's Just Not That Into You and Crazy Stupid Love. But Amy would also like to add one of her favorite ensemble rom-coms from the 90s, which is Singles.
I forgot that I put that one in there. Have you guys seen Singles?
No.
Yes.
I don't think so.
It reminds me of like Empire Records.
Yes. I love Empire Records. Yeah, that's such a good one too. That's a great ensemble.
Singles movie. Who is in? Bridget Fonda and Matt
in it.
Dillon?
Matt Dillon
Matt-
and Eddie
Matt
Vedder and
Dillon,
Campbell
it was-
Scott and Keira Sedgwick and like it's
I'm
so good.
sorry.
Matt Dillon was dreamy in it.
So dreamy. Like the total like
Stop.
ugh.
I have a dirty thing about Matt Dillon. Like, just
Honestly, Reality
Dirty
Bites
crush.
has like a bit of this too. Although most of them aren't finding love.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, there's only one actual relationship happening, isn't there? I think
The one friend,
Troy and
the gay
Elena.
friend has no, but it's not even on screen. It's
no,
dumb.
yeah, not
meh.
on screen. Yeah.
Really bites.
Yes. So I wanted to throw Singles in there because it just popped in my head and it's so good. And Megan, you should go watch it. I
Yeah.
think you would like it a lot.
that sounds up my alley.
Fantasy/vacation. The post describes this as the ultimate wish fulfillment rom-com. You're on a beautiful island and meet a gorgeous man, like in How Stella Got Her Groove Back, or you wish to be 30, flirty, and thriving and jump from middle school right into your 30-year-old life in 13 going on 30. But what Schwartz adds is that when you get back to reality, what you learn is that you need to like know yourself, love yourself before you can be happy in love with someone else. Bittersweet ending. Here's where it gets contestable. And again, I did not write this. Okay? But I understand what they're saying here with the movie that they use, which is why I wanted to talk about this one. If they had put a Nicholas Sparks in here, I would have been like, absolutely not.
Right.
So this is a rom-com, supposedly, with a twist because here we have a once happy couple who does not end up together at the end. The post uses 500 Days of Summer as an example. And if you haven't seen it, this is not a spoiler to say that it's not a spoiler because the story is not told linearly. And we know at the beginning that Tom and Summer have broken up. And I know we say that romance has to have a happy ending in the book world. And I will go on record as saying that I absolutely think that. But I also think, and I don't know if you guys have seen 500 Days of Summer.
I have.
It has a happy ending for Tom and for Summer, just not with each other. But the thing with this movie is that it's not Summer's movie. It's Tom's movie. It's told from Tom's point of view. Summer has no point of view. Summer is the manic pixie dream girl that, he thinks is the perfect girl from him and ends up, they're not perfect for each other. So I think it's an interesting one to use because it does have so many rom-com aspects. I mean, there's a full-on like musical number where he's dancing, to Hall & Oates through the streets and it's a whole flash mob. Like so many rom-com aspects, but the couple that you start the movie with, or not the couple that you end the movie with, and he does meet somebody else in the end. So,
And her name is Autumn.
yes, and I think it's me. Is it Minka Kelly? I think it's Minka Kelly.
Oh, is it? I love Minka Kelly.
It might be.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying that that's it, but
I mean, in the traditional sense, no. But then I also would call 500 Days of Summer a rom-com. I would. You know?
That's like that's
No.
why I'm like, if they were like,
I would
like,
absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
And that's fair.
We'll get there. We'll get there in a second. We'll talk more in a second because the last one they had on the list was just Christmas.
I love it. We get it. We know what that is.
Yeah. So my question was like, what do you think of this list? What's missing from this list?
So, I mean, I wrote like a short little thing that I won't belabor too much, but first I feel like it's just like, okay, well, first I'm just going to say Bittersweet isn't remotely a romance to me. It's just a comedy with romantic elements. So if there's no HEA or HFN between like the main leads, then I'm not going to call it a romance. It can have romantic elements. They can both end up totally in love with their right partners at the end. But if like if the movie is about how they weren't the right ones for each other, then it's not a romance to me. It's a comedy with romantic elements. And that and this isn't like a knock. It doesn't make it less good.
Oh, no, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So 500 Days of Summer is a super fun movie. In the end, having him like start the whole cycle again with like Autumn is a great, that's a classic. But to me, I think it's just missing a whole lot. Like for me, I just feel like any of the tropes we love could be a rom-com with the right spin and humor. So you take a Beauty and the Beast trope. That could be a total rom-com. An Ugly Duckling, of course, Marriage of Convenience, Fake Dating, Accidental Pregnancy. I mean, I think you basically just take any romance trope, and if it's a funny premise, it's going to be a rom-com.
Yeah, I mean, I hear Bittersweet ending and I think Nicholas Sparks. And honestly,
Yeah, I know.
I need to stop. Like, I think I've been traumatized a lot by Nicholas Sparks, but like his like time where he's constantly getting movies made from his books is over for the most part. Like, we've beaten the dead horse of Nicholas Sparks. So like, I think that's a me problem. And I need to move on. I actually do. I mean, I like bittersweet comedy sometimes, like 500 Days of Summer. I actually really do like movies like that.
Did you see the break? Did you see the breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston?
I did, and
it made me think of that too.
Yeah, I like,
which I would not consider that a romance. At all.
I know. So I think that's my problem. I think I agree with Leah. I would say it's a comedy with romantic elements, which is long, and people don't want to say that, so they'll just say rom-com. You know what I mean? I think that's part of the problem. But I think we're just such loyalists to the romance genre. So for us, we're like HEA or bust.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that you can add here. I think another one of the tropes, and Leah already brought up 10 Things I Hate About You, but it's the Taming of the Shrew trope, which I don't think is as prevalent, but that's what that movie is. I mean, it actually is, you know, a modern retelling of Taming of the Shrew. And I think we get a lot of tropes from some, you know, classical works of literature like that, like, you know, Shakespeare stuff. And I like that because I don't like calling a woman a shrew. Obviously, I do not. But I like the idea is that we think that Kat's a shrew, but we obviously don't know her backstory, and we learn it. And it's because, you know, Joey's a dick. I love this movie so much.
I know, me too. It's great.
Like that was my introduction to Heath Ledger, and it was all downhill from there.
I know. So good.
The Pygmalion trope, like the ugly duckling, like that's, you brought up She's All That, like that's what that is. And I'm not saying that I love that. But that is a big trope. And I think if it's done, it can be done well, with the right type of writing. I think it can be done well.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the other examples that might have been on the blog post was, now I'm forgetting the name of it, where Sandra Bullock is the FBI agent, Miss Congeniality.
Oh, I loved Miss Congeniality.
Yeah, what I'm saying, like, as far as, like, the ugly duckling trope, like,
so good.
Sandra Bullock cannot be ugly. Like, she just can't, you know?
My favorite, when she's, like, striding out of the airport hangar, and she's, like, beautiful, and it's in slow-mo, and then she falls. Like, classic comedy. Like a comedy scene. I loved it.
Good physical comedy.
Yeah, very.
The fake dating, like, that's a huge one that's missing from here. Lots of good ones that were brought up.
Yeah.
Leah, I've seen 500 Days of Summer 2 to 3 times. Not a romance. What is your favorite rom-com trope to read or watch or write? It could be different for each category. Who knows?
Yeah, so I said I was going a little rogue because this isn't on the list, but I love the like one night or one day romances. So it's where two people are forced to spend like a concentrated amount of time together to do something and they fall in love. So kind of like The Hangover, but make it romance. And also where the story, so like the movie is with them every second. Like there's no time jumps. You're there with them over like a period of 8 hours. And you watch them like slowly fall in love, and there's usually some sort of like mission. I think that's what I like about too. There's like a forced proximity, like mission element. It's just, I don't know, man. I eat that up like crazy. I wish I could write something with that urgency, because you know how hard that is to like.
I did it.
Which one?
I did it. Well, that was my response. I did it. So remember when we did the 80s and the 90s like mixtape stuff? Did you guys do those?
No, but yours was like that. I remember that.
I like that. So there's a movie from 1987. I actually looked when Harry Met Sally is 1989, but I'm like stuck in this like little like 87 to 89 space. There's a movie from 1987 called The All-Nighter with Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles.
Okay.
And it is this group of friends, and it's their last night before college graduation and all the crazy shit that happens that night.
That is what
romance.
I like. Oh,
and so that was my inspiration. So this 80s mixtape thing, which I looked, it's still on Amazon. I didn't know it still existed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this was an anthology that I did like 100 years ago with a group of other writers where we all were writing. This is when we were still writing new adult. So this is like college age, and it was, it had to be inspired by like music of the 80s. And I think that my inspiration was like a Stone Roses song. She Bangs the Drum, because I called my thing Drummer Girl. And it was an all-nighter thing. And I wanted to write my version of the all-nighter. So I looked it up because I barely remembered it, and I just wanted to read the blurb of it because I thought it was cute, and I was like, I love that I did this. So Sam Walsh is done with college, done with guys, done with the whole scene, but her roommate coaxes her out for an epic last night to see an up-and-coming band. Ben McCarthy is the sexy drummer, the would-have-been valedictorian who dropped out 3 years ago to follow his dream. Tomorrow, he and the band leave for London, but for one unforgettable night, it's just Sam, the music, and him. Can a girl with her feet planted firmly on the ground fall for the boy who reaches for the stars when the only result is a broken heart?
Ooh.
And it's
That's
a one night thing. And I don't even remember if it was a novella or just a short story. Like that's how much I don't even remember writing it. I feel like you did one of these, Leah.
I didn't.
I feel like I did a mixtape too.
I think you did. You're not on the 80s one. I think you were on the 90s one.
I can't remember it.
That's what I'm saying. Like I had to look it up. I'm like, what was my story?
Like, I know it was a one night.
I know it was a one. Well, you said that one night thing. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it made me think of the all-nighter from 1987.
Yeah.
How did you find this?
I knew it was called the 80s mixtape. So I looked it up on Amazon.
Okay,
I have it on my bookshelf
too.
Like I have copies.
I don't know. Maybe I feel like maybe I was going to. I think I was going to, and then I might have backed out because I'm also mixing it up with. I had another one that was. I did like a first kiss anthology of like the first time you kiss someone, and I think that's the one I ended up doing was like a flash mob kiss thing between, look, it's problematic, but it's how I roll, which is, it was a girl and her TA, because I was obsessed with my TA when I was in college.
I can't find the 90s one because I don't remember what it was called, because the 80s was mixtape. Yours wouldn't have been a mixtape.
I don't see it under Leah's bio.
I don't think I did. I think I was, oh no, it's not on my bio.
Oh, because it's an anthology.
I think I was going to, and I think I did piece out of it. I feel like I got close to doing it, and then I was like really busy and was like, I can't do it. I think that's what happened. Anyway,
okay.
Nobody cares. Let's keep going.
Leah, what's your favorite?
Oh,
trope?
What do I like?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say favorite. I'm just never, ever going to say no to some kind of an antagonistic element. I think enemies to lovers
I love
is the overarching one. But I mean, honestly, it's like rivals to lovers, opposites attracts to lovers. A book I'm reading right now that I'm really, really, really enjoying is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I haven't read Alexis Hall in a while, and I've always really just loved them. And so this is a premise between like, it's set in Britain, it's set in London, a very kind of like, he always writes kind of these like uptight, very quirky leads that are like eccentric and have like issues. So this guy is a son of a famous rock star who's kind of a has-been, but has made a comeback and is like he's kind of on like an X Factor or something like that as like a host, and he's kind of having like a new day. And this guy is like totally estranged from his dad, has never known him. And he was at a kind of like a club party wearing bunny ears and had like a bad run-in with somebody, and leaving the club tripped and fell, and a photo went out of him. And it was basically like, rock star's son is living a life of alcoholism and blah, blah, blah. And so he gets all this bad publicity, and at his work, they're basically like, all these people are pulling out of like a fundraiser you're running. We really need to rehabilitate your image, like total rom-com. Like we have to rehabilitate your image. You need a boyfriend stat. So he's basically like, I need to find a boyfriend. And his fake boyfriend that he's like shopping for ends up being this guy that like he's kind of known around for a while, who's like a lawyer, who's a vegan and very like, the total opposite of him, like very earnest in his dealings with the world and stuff. And it's fun. It's great. And it's not like they hate each other and they're just constantly like, you're the worst. But it's just like, they both have misread each other. And I think that just happens so much in the world, right? We just misread people. I am very quick to judge a lot of the time. And it's nice when you're just like, oh, it's got an element of the friend who was there all along. where, you've just really created an idea of someone in your head and it's fun to watch it. Be like, oh, I actually do like office romances. I actually do like the vegan lawyer who I was going to have as my fake boyfriend.
I love it. Well, we've made it to our favorite segment, which is our K-pop Wreck of the week.
After an hour.
I know. We went long today. Sorry, everybody. We're going to talk about K-dramas next. Don't you worry. But first, Leah, are you giving us our K-pop Wreck of the week? So, Leah, what do you have for us this week?
So I just want to talk about BTS because it's fun when even in this long period of enlistment, we get content and music coming from the group. And so what is out right now that dropped last week is J-Hope had an album come out, which is Hope on the Street. And Hope on the Street Volume 1, which is also exciting and tantalizing of what will be Volume 2. But it's like a bunch of different things. It is a documentary kind of reflecting on because he is the dance captain of BTS. So the documentary, which is on Prime and dropping slowly, is kind of a retrospective of like different dance movements that he has like learned over the years. And he kind of wants to go back and like learn like kind of their origins. Where did they come from? Like, why are they important? And he's moving through all these different areas like Osaka and New York City and Paris and meeting with different dancers and kind of just like learning more about these things that have really influenced him. He's such like a cool, thoughtful guy. I love that. And so this is really fun. And then on top of it is layered in this EP. Some of the music has been like released before, like On the Street. There's an aspect of it that he did with the rapper J. Cole, which is kind of like its own version on the album. But there's a couple of new songs as well. And a lot of it is kind of looking back at his roots of being on like street dance teams and kind of like what they meant to him and his legacy. So it's like a pretty reflective project. It's really, really highly stylistic. And then the music on it is great. I'd basically say every song is a complete banger on its own. There's only 6, and he just has like a really cool laid back, I'd almost say like a West Coast rap style vibe to him. And so it's just very languid, yet it's like covering up the fact that he's like a highly technical rapper and like very methodical in like everything he does. Like it's like very exacting, but it has this projection of being very relaxed. And that's hard to do, to be like very type A, but look kind of boneless while you're doing it.
That sounds
so,
awesome.
Yeah, I recommend both the documentary and the album as well.
Awesome.
So Hope on the Street, Volume 1.
All right.
And then on Prime Video as well.
Okay. Let's take this to K-drama now.
Finally.
I think one thing that differentiates rom-com in K-drama from Western rom-com is that one drama can cross a lot of different genres. Like, say, having a drama that focuses on catching a serial killer in a small town while the male and female leads are falling in love. So when we mention K-drama rom-coms, the whole drama itself isn't always a rom-com. And nothing else but I can't speak. The whole drama itself isn't always a rom-com and like nothing else, other than that. But some of them are. To start, like, what do you think? And we've talked about this before, and I think it's one of the things that brought us here. What do you think of the cross-genreification of K-dramas? And can we still enjoy some good romantic comedy if, say, like a North Korean soldier escapes to South Korea to kill the hero's fated mate?
I mean, I'm just trying to think, would we even call Chloe a rom-com? Because I don't know if I would.
I wouldn't call it a rom-com. I'm saying it has
comedy
rom-com elements in it. Yeah. Like I'm saying the drama itself isn't a rom-com, but there's still like rom-com-ish stuff in there. Like we have a makeover. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's what I mean. Like when we talk about K-drama rom-coms, I don't think we're always going to have dramas that are just full comedy. Like, like Western ones are.
Well, yes and no.
I think some are, but I think it's less so in K-drama. Like they're like, think about things that you think are rom-coms and K-drama, and there is also some like big trauma in that too.
Yes. Ish. I would, yeah. Like, okay, Megan, you go first.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think part of the thing is Western media they aren't doing the sitcom like they used to, which I feel like the sitcom is probably the closest that you can compare to K-dramas. By sitcom, I mean like family sitcoms, like Everybody Loves Raymond, or even like back the Cosbys or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Don't talk about the Cosbys.
I know. Excuse me for talking about the Cosbys, but I'm just trying to, or whatever. Nothing here ages well. But yeah, so I just feel like that's maybe the closest comparison, just because a lot of the streaming shows we have now are just not straight up comedy, or I don't know. That's just not, it doesn't seem like that's what the studios are buying right now. But I still feel like K-dramas have better writing and more of a complete story. So, and I like that it incorporates the elements. Like I said, in sitcoms, you always would get the comedy, but then you'd get like the real life advice too. You know, you'd get like the serious discussions where, I don't know,
where Danny Tanner sits on the edge of your bed and
teaches
you a
like,
lesson.
You know, Jesse Spano takes too many caffeine pills or something in Saved by the Bell. You know what I'm saying? But my point is that in the thing I like about K-drama though is the mix of genres within one complete 100%. Story. From beginning to end. That's always been my
and here's
favorite.
the thing is, I think that part of it though is like, okay, if you think about it as like the function of length, is we're looking at a rom-com movie in the West potentially being 2 hours, an hour and a half. So you could have it have more of just kind of like a one note, possibly two notes, and just still kind of be able to like get away with it. Sometimes may not be the best movie ever, but you can get away with it. It's harder to get away with that one note after like 16 episodes. Like you need need a little tune to play. And so that's where I think it makes so much more sense that we see that like that mashup of genres, and we're going to get like a serial killer in the middle of, you know, what is otherwise like a cute opposites attract small town bar owner and cop, like in the Camellia Blooms. But then we've got like the serial killer, is because we've got to have things to sustain those lengths.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because like you're saying, Megan, with like sitcoms and stuff, I don't know that we had like rom-com sitcoms, right? Like, I mean, there was stuff like Friends and New Girl and stuff like that like veers more towards like romance and stuff like that. But romance isn't the whole story there, right? And I think what we get in K-drama is like what you're saying, Leah, is we can have like a whole drama that like focuses, like the main story is the romance, but to sustain our attention, we're going to add in something like a serial killer. And I never knew that I liked that with my romance until I got to K-drama. And I was like, oh, I do like a little.
The thing is too, like with sitcoms, a lot of times, like, you know, okay, so a sitcom isn't a 1.5 hour movie. Honestly, they can go for years and years and years. But you're kind of in that like constraint of like the 22 minutes or whatever thing. And like, yes, sometimes the shows do kind of like build on each other and come along, but they're really meant to be like, you can just drop in on anyone at any given time and be entertained. So like we're not having a lot of like crossover. I mean, you know, so yeah, I think mostly it's the time. I think it really is the pacing and having to fill the pacing, which is why, again, K-drama makes such an inherently interesting conversation when you talk about writing, because you have enough room to either really hit it out of the park or really hang yourself in terms of the writing.
I think K-dramas are the most, I think this is what I fell in love with K-dramas in the first place. And especially when it comes to romance, is I think K-dramas are the most comparable to writing a romance book. For some reason, the pacing of a romance or pacing of a K-drama over 12 or 16 episodes feels like how much content I would need to fill a romance book. Just because sometimes I can be like, I like almost know when they're going to bring in a subplot. Why? Because if I'm writing a romance novel, at like that beat is probably when I would need to introduce a subplot, or my book is going to be not long enough. You know what I mean? So it's the most comparable to me, and it's one of the reasons like I so relate to the writing of it.
Yeah, I don't think we like, I think we've proven that we don't have anything comparable in the US because we don't, or in the West in general, because we don't use this same format, right? If we do, like, it's either going to be a half-hour sitcom that is episodic and we don't need to watch them all in order, or it's going to be an hour-long, comedy, dramedy, whatever, that is going to keep throwing random stuff in there to milk it for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And years and years.
Yeah.
And years. Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
I mean, hats off to Shonda Rhimes. Like, like that show is a success and has been for 20 years. But I think that's another thing that we all loved about K-drama is like we get our happily ever after and it's done. They're not going to have to pull the couple apart to get more story.
Yeah, they'll just introduce a serial. They're going to
keep it going for another year.
That's what they're going to do.
Right.
And bring it on.
Yes.
So somebody asked you to recommend a K-drama rom-com. What would be the first one that comes to mind?
I did literally the first one that came to mind, which was Business Proposal.
Yeah, the first one that came to my mind was What's Wrong with Secretary Kim.
And here I was leaving it open for you to do Love to Hate You. So
I know,
steal
but
that from you.
That was like my second one I thought of. So I just wrote down the first one.
So I wrote down Legend of the Blue Sea, which is a total rom-com with very low angst. And we have to put Love to Hate You in there because Love to Hate You is perfect because
good.
What is it, 12 episodes? It's short and sweet and like the lowest of low angst. Like it is mostly rom-com. Like 90% rom-com with a tiny bit of like just emotional angst, like nothing, no super like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretending like the trauma and What's Wrong. I'm sorry. I pretend like that trauma never happened. I really do. I just pretend like it never happened. Sorry, Park Seo-joon. What would you say? Who would you say is an iconic K-drama rom-com couple?
I always have a hard time. It's like when I ask my kids, what was your favorite thing? And they're like, I don't know. So I'm just going to go with one that I think is good that I haven't talked about in a while too, because I want to keep it fresh. I don't want to just like beat on the same little drum every time. And there is a actor who's having a moment for me. A moment where he has moved from boy to man in a way that is making me feel uncomfortable yet comfortable in the uncomfortableness. And that is Cha Eun-woo. If you follow our Instagram, you know that I am just like on this journey with him into support. And he's not even like, this isn't even like a military glow up. I don't know what has happened to him. He just was like, today I am a man. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about True Beauty, a drama that I don't like love. And I know this is controversial because there's a love triangle in True Beauty, but I liked the leads and I liked it. Like I liked where it went. I liked how it happened. So we have Cha Eun-woo and Moon Ga-young. This is a bit of like an ugly duckling rom-com, which is just never my favorite, where she like puts on makeup and no one can tell who she is. But I just thought it was like, look, they both I think the characters were written well, and I think they pulled them off well in the sense that it just kind of delivered what you would want for, I think my biggest thing for True Beauty is that for me, I think that me personally as myself, maybe I'm just a little bit too old to be the target audience. That's not to say that I'm too old for a high school drama. That's not to say I'm too old for a story, but I think for me to like really get into like so my daughter finds this her top drama. And she's 13. This is like her favorite drama. She rewatches it. She thinks it's super fun. She loves the makeup aspects of it. She doesn't hate herself, nor does she like feel like a man needs to validate her. She just really loves that like concept of like playing with all the makeup. And there's like a lot of comic nerdiness that happens in it too. Cause like the two leads like connect over like being comic fans and like in like a cool comic shop and stuff like that. So anyway, I just haven't talked about this drama very much. And I did just like when I was like going through like all the different ones, I was like, even if I didn't love that one, I think it did a good job at being like a lighthearted romantic comedy. Yes, it does like sometimes give you like the over ick when you think about like what it means for like women and their looks. But if you're just going to take it as like a face value, like whatever, this was just fun. I think they did their job. And I just wanted to talk about Cha Eun-woo.
Fair. I'm going to go with Chong Song-yi and Do Min-jun from My Love from Another Star, even though it should have been Planet, but that's okay. I do really consider them an iconic rom-com couple. Like, when I read this question, they actually were the first couple that came to mind.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
they're such a good one.
Say what you will about this drama, you know, different people like it or not, but it's a very popular drama. Most K-drama watchers have seen it. And it's freaking hysterical. I mean, it truly was one of the funniest K-dramas, probably because of Jung Ji-hyun, or Jung Ji-hyun? Jung Ji-hyun.
Jung Ji-hyun.
She's hilarious. I mean, she's great.
Oh,
yeah.
I bring her up from this drama
I mean,
later.
She's great at physical comedy. She's great at all comedy. But, yeah, I mean, and the premise is inherently funny. He's an alien, but he looks human and he showers with a towel on. I mean, there's just so, and she is
the towel shower. I will never.
She's like a disgraced
it.
actress, kind of, or an actress in a little bit of trouble, and it's just great. And there's a crazy serial killer, well, not a serial killer, but a murderer,
the worst murderer ever, the worst killer ever, the worst villain ever.
God, it's funny. It's very funny.
Yeah, and I brought up Rowoon and Joboa in Destined with You as Jang Shin-yu and Lee Hong-jo. And this is one of those dramas that I will say is not a full romantic comedy, because it's like the first half is just straight romantic comedy, and then the second half gets a little bit more into like tragic past lives, and then we get back to comedy again. But they are such a funny couple in that first half, and they're funny again at the end. It was, and it's a newer drama too, and it was some of the best, for me, romantic comedy that I've seen in a while.
And pick a drama that fits one of the 7 rom-com tropes we discussed earlier and show how it fits that trope.
So the bet or the lie, business proposal, I thought was a really good one for that. Because she shows up on the date with him to basically like turn him off, because she's going in place of somebody else and going to turn him off, and ends up striking a deal with him because he doesn't want to get married. And so and then she ends up, finding out he's her boss, and somehow he does not recognize her when she doesn't have the
literally
extensions in her hair
and tight clothes. And when she's wearing baggy clothes and baggy and no hair extensions, he's like, "Oh, do not recognize her. Her voice can't even
recognize her."
Nope.
Yep.
Classic rom-com.
I mean, that kind, right. And that's a classic like rom-com use of it, is when like it's so dumb. Like you're like, in real life, nobody would believe this, but you go with it for the story.
And I went with 2 BLs. So I did Opposites Attract, which is semantic error. It's kind of a very like nerdy, uptight character, falls for this more like free spirit, popular student, or they're in college. And then the other one is the one who has been there all along, which I chose Our Dating Sim. I'm kind of stretching this trope a little bit, but in Our Dating Sim, the one character confesses that he likes the other character, and after they graduate high school, and he kisses him, and then he's like, "Oh, I made a mistake," and runs away. And then they don't see each other for 7 years or like something like that. And then the character who ran away ends up getting hired at the other guy's company. So they're like forced together. And the other guy is like, I would have, the spoiler, but the other guy was basically like, "I would have returned the kiss. Why'd you run away for like 8 years, you weirdo?" And it was just kind of cute because because falling in love is mortifying.
That's why.
It was a rom-com because funny things happen as they're working together, and they fall back in love, and it's great. It's a very romantic drama. I liked it.
Yeah, God, I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to do mine?
Yeah.
So I went with Opposites Attract. Again, I'm always liking Opposites Attract, that enemies to lovers, but also I'm with that Opposites Attract, like less Haiti vibes. Hometown Cha 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 does this really well. So we have the big
Absolutely.
city
Such a good one.
dentist moving to the small seaside town and getting thrown together with kind of like the village jack of all trades who basically can show up to fix your dentist office. But when he opens up his like wallet, it has just all his certifications and they all fall out.
I love it.
It was a classic. And so I think this, we don't talk about Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha a lot for how good it is.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I think we need to start
It's
talking
so
about it
good.
more because it is really good.
So do K-dramas have their own specific rom-com tropes that maybe stray outside of, what we think of in Western rom-coms?
I had one that I wanted to talk about in particular here that I felt somewhat passionate about. And that was the hidden genders in K-drama. I think that is something that we do not really see. And I was even trying to struggle to think of something.
I mean, there were like some like that movie with Amanda Bynes where she pretends to be a boy and play soccer.
I was just gonna say
couple movies, but they were like those are like definitely out of fashion. She's the man. She's the man,
that's
but
what that one was.
That's definitely out of fashion in the U. And honestly,
and
that's
I just
the only
don't
one
think
I can think of.
And you know what? That's a Shakespeare remake. That's Twelfth Night. So that it's not even. I don't consider that.
I also don't think we do that.
Original.
Most of those are outdated, and we don't do them well. We don't do them like K-dramas do. So go ahead, Leah. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, I feel like everything from Coffee Prince to like The King's Affection, like there's just so not everyone is done great, but I think there's quite a few that are done pretty, for my taste, fun and good. And so yeah, that's one that I've thought about because I like them so much. I've often thought like what would work well now to have, and I just don't think that like I can because to me ultimately Coffee Prince, like if it was even to be made now, I'd be like, look, I just prefer it to be I've always said like I just think the heroine, quote unquote, I would say is just more non-binary to me, and it would be a better story if it was just a non-binary lead. And so I think if I was to make it into like the West, moving more into that space would be more inherently like it just feels more correct and better. And then the historical lends more to it because you've got the costumes and the kind of like the fantastical element. So I feel like that's why like a historic, like if I was ever going to try to write something in the West with something that had like a hidden gender type thing, it would be set in the past for whatever.
Much more of a reason for it.
Yeah. More reasons and like the soul.
And
like,
less knowledge.
I've wanted to do a soldier one for a while. Like I think a soldier one would be fun, like, a Revolutionary War or something where it's like, where there were cases of people who were going to do kind of like their version of a Joan of Arc fighting, and I think that something like that could be good.
Lord of the Rings, I am no man. When she rips off the helmet. When he's like, no man will defeat me, and she rips off her helmet and she's like, I am no man. Yeah. I love that part.
So we do have body swapping in like Western cinema, but not usually with romantic leads.
Right.
I didn't see it, but the Jennifer Garner and Ed Helms movie, The Family Switch, that I think it was out like over the holidays. It was I think it was a Netflix movie. I didn't see it, but like all like the kids switch with the parents and the baby switches with the dog. Like, yeah.
Sounds dumb.
So, like Freaky Friday, we have Freaky Friday where the, mom and the daughter switch bodies and stuff like that. But in K-drama, in C-drama, like Love Between Fairy and Devil, we have romantic leads like body swapping. Like I'm thinking of Secret Garden and like, Love Between Fairy and Devil. And that it's fun when it's done well. Like I almost, like Alchemy of Souls was like just bonkers. Like you don't know who's in whose body. But yeah, that's something that you don't see in Western media is body swapping with romantic leads. And that is definitely a thing in K-drama.
I didn't know how to like word this eloquently, but basically just the trope of the romantic leads always bonding as children. So like bonding as children, always, and then being separated and then falling
being kidnapped together.
Yeah, being kidnapped together, falling asleep together, like healer, holding hands. I mean, just so many meeting as children tropes, which again, we didn't realized that when we started watching K-dramas, and we thought it was like really special, and then we realized that was like every drama.
I know, we're like, oh, this is such a thing.
It's okay. I still love it.
Like your mom adopting your potential boyfriend, but not really adopting him. And
oh my God. And then leaving him
I
on
won't
the
name dramas. And then leaving him on the, not even knocking on the door.
Leaving him
of the
there at like
orphanage,
midnight in the dark,
step.
and he cries for his mom. Oh, ridiculous. I know.
Oh, goodness.
So let's look a bit more specifically at the different ways a rom-com can achieve the comedy aspect of the story. So what's an example of a K-drama where the romantic couple has clever wordplay?
I thought this was so funny. I just wasn't sure. I was like, I think you like, we're just going for banter, right?
Yeah, I was just wording it like it was worded in the Patreon.
Because I was thinking about it like
Patreon,
that feels
banter.
like Shakespearean, and I wasn't sure if I.
No, not like spitting at the pentameter to each other.
So for yeah.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?
I thought Our Beloved Summer had good banter. I liked how they would like get each other's goat in a way that like no one else could get their goats with each other. Love it.
So yeah, this is like I'm going more wish fulfillment because this wasn't a romantic pairing of the drama, but it's the kind of banter I want in a romantic drama, and it is Goblin and Reaper. Because I mean that should have been a romantic pairing. They have romantic comedy banter, like they absolutely do, and I love it.
Are you going to mention the other one? Yeah.
Oh, do I have another one? I didn't even see.
It's okay. I was like, that's a good one. You should mention it.
Yeah, sorry. No. Yeah. In the first half of Alchemy of Souls, the banter between Jungkook and Mooduk, because they're like at each other's throats in the beginning, because it's not a romantic pairing. It is a relationship of convenience, not even dating, right? Like she's pretending to be his servant so that she can be his master. And yeah, I mean, like she has zero respect for him. Like he's this like princely mage, and she like zero respect and just totally, talk shit to him all the time. And I love it.
That's why I was like, mention it because that is a good one.
Oh, I missed that.
And I chose Suspicious Partner, which that's Nam Ji-hyun plays Bong Hee and Ji Chung-uk plays Ji-uk. And I love them. Ji-uk is just a very, very grumpy lawyer. And Bong Hee gives him everything she's got. Like, she doesn't back down to him like other people do. And she's smart. And I really love this drama, and I don't talk about it enough. I think sometimes I forget about it. And I actually would rewatch this drama, even though it was like 20 episodes. It was so long.
It was so long, but it has like
the best villain, and the romance is really good. And they really give the romance.
Really
I mean, speaking of comedy, like it's great. Like, actually, I'll mention it later. I'll mention the good scene later.
Okay.
And what's an example of a rom-com K-drama that does physical comedy well?
Look, I'm going to mention Destined with You again, because I think the physical comedy in this is A+. Like, it has to do, like Jung Shin-yu takes a love potion and thinks that he can't leave Hongjo's side because of the potion is making him be there. And there's a scene where he has to pee like so bad, but he's afraid he's going to miss her. So he can't, like, he's rooted to the spot, and he literally has to like pick up his pant leg and move him so that he will walk to the bathroom and go pee. Like, it's, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of just good physical comedy. There's another scene where they're kissing in a conference room, and his like secretary walks in and she's on a rolling chair, and his instinct is just push her, like, and she flies across the room on the chair so that they're not caught kissing. It's fun.
For me, I went with Her Private Life, because I think that there's just so many fun moments in it, from her like trying to take photos at the airport of her idol to him coming into her apartment with like all the idol like paraphernalia, and she's trying to like hide it from him. And then like when like she knocks her like cardboard idol's head off like of his shoulders, and then
what about the coffee?
Well, actually, yeah. So I liked it when he goes in to like the space of the chat room, and they like make that physical comedy too, where he's like Madame Latte or whatever.
Yes.
And he like comes in and
So
he's like dressed kind of like a
funny.
sketchy Ajumma and like comes in and like, so it's basically meant to be a representation of her fan chat room. And he comes in and like, will like, when he comes in the
disguise.
chat, like he actually like, it comes in disguise into kind of like a mystical scene, like a misty room. Yeah.
So
So there's a
funny.
lot.
I totally
was
forgot
very
about that.
funny.
And so, yeah, that was all just clever. Like that was really cleverly well done to me.
It was. I forgot about that. I really, really love that. I can't believe I forgot. I'm sorry. I chose My Love from a Star. I think Amy's going to mention a funny scene later. I'll mention this scene when she's at a wedding and she's trying to like outpose the other bridesmaid, and it's like they're upstaging the bride because they're like trying to outpose each other, and they're doing all these like really funny poses, and I love it. Very physical comedy. And then Joseph Attorney, which I don't talk about a lot because I didn't love the drama. The romance was a dud. And I was really disappointed because Udo Wan starred in it. It was like his like major role after he was just after he left the military. I'm like, what are you doing, Udo Wan? But he, however, was fantastic in it. And while I wouldn't say it was a full comedy, there was a lot of seriousness in it. It was a historical. There was some amazing physical comedy that Udo Wan had to do, very reminiscent of his role in King, the Eternal Monarch. He kind of, in Joseph Attorney, he kind of played this like super cocky attorney. And, you know, he would have to like run from people in his like shoes and his, you know, whole get up and just other things that he had to do in the name of, you know, his business. And it was very funny, very good physical comedy.
So what's a scene from a K-drama rom-com that lives rent-free in your mind?
I'll go with this one. So I'm always going to talk about Yumi Cells, even though I'm the only one that's going to watch it. And in Yumi Cells, so there's like her psyche, it's kind of like Inside Out. So her psyche is like this little cell village, and there's all these different cells. And it is very funny because Kim Go-eun is Yumi, who was also in Goblin. And in her cell village, there is the Gongyu fan club, and it's run by Horny Cell. And so Horny Cell is like the lustiest cell that's just constantly like, oh, yeah, baby. And then there's like the Gongyu fan club with like a little
slinks.
sign. And he'll like, and he'll like slink over and be like, yeah. And it's so funny. I don't know.
is.
It's funny.
It's very good. The cells are the best part
It is.
to me about Yumi Cells, I think.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up from My Love from the Star, and I've brought this up before, but this scene still stands out to me as one of the funniest rom-com scenes in a drama. And it's when Song-yi, played by Jung Ji-hyun, is zipped up in a sleeping bag, sleeping on her alien's bedroom floor because he gets physically ill from human contact. Like that's, you know, one of the pieces of conflict there. So like he kisses her and he becomes like deathly ill. And when he wakes up and asks her what she's doing there, she is stuck in a sleeping bag, zipped all the way up so that all we can see is this tiny little circle of her face. And she's just like rolling and inching around the floor like a worm. And it's like not everybody can pull that off. And it's just like such great physical comedy. And that scene
And she
just
looks
cracks me up.
beautiful doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's so amazing.
Like she's very,
Yeah,
she's
very
very
cute.
Lucille Ball
Yes,
to me.
very
Like,
So I have two. So the first is Business Proposal, the flying slipper. This is, I don't know why this scene from Business Proposal sticks out of my head. So the heroine cannot let the boss know that she is the girl with the extensions and the tight clothes. So because her boss is, she doesn't know that her boss is who she had gone on that fake date with. So she's at work and she's wearing like a lab coat because she kind of like works with like food and stuff. So she's wearing like a lab coat and she has slippers on, like slides that I think they call them slippers in South Korea. We kind of call them like Adidas slides. And she sees him and she's like, oh shit, like in the lobby. And so she turns around and she starts running, but her one slipper flies off her foot and hits her boss right on the forehead. And she has to keep running. From a great distance. And he acts like he has a big bruise from like this flying slipper. I'm like, really? wouldn't hit you that hard, but I just loved it because it's like this slow-mo and it's just pure comedy because of course it hits him on the head. Like I like comedy like that. I thought it was very funny. And then my other one is from Suspicious Partner. And that's where Ji Chang-wook is like on kind of a balcony in his house and he's watering plants and he's looking down and on the yard, on a table in the yard is Bong Hee having a conversation with one of his like old coworkers and she's laughing. And the best part about Ji-wook in this drama is that he does not understand his feelings. Like he is not in touch with his feelings. He doesn't understand why this bothers him. He swears he doesn't like Bong Hee, but when he sees her laughing and flirting, he's pissed off and he takes the hose and he sprays them just to be an asshole.
That was funny.
Yeah. And he's like talking to someone else and they're like, why did you do that? He's like, I don't know. They were just bugging me. And they were talking too loud. And it was just, I just loved it. I love it. It was very funny.
That was a good one.
Which K-drama actor or actress have you seen knock it out of the park in both a comedic role and a dramatic one?
Park Min-young. Like, I thought of her mostly as a rom-com actress until watching Marry My Husband and got to see her do. I mean, she's done like some dramatic stuff, but she's leaned more towards, you know, the comedy side. And I just loved seeing her really show her range in this drama.
For me, so I haven't talked a lot about Dr. Slump, which I've watched that I really liked. And I just wanted to shout out Park Shin-hye in Dr. Slump because I hadn't really seen them like knock it out of the park for me before. Like I thought that, you know, they've done adequate jobs and things I've seen, but I don't also know. Like I was always like, I can't really tell if it's just like the roles you've been written. I don't know. I thought that they were quite good in Memories of the Alhambra, but it just didn't feel like ever a meaty role. It felt like it was always more, Hyunbin's vehicle rather than hers, but she was good in it. But I felt like, look, in Dr. Slump, Park Hyun-sik is ridiculous. He is an aegyo ridiculous king. Like he is the most charming, it's adorable. And I don't I will take adorable if it's him every time. And he just is like aegyo-tastic. And I feel like she holds her own against him in a way that surprised me. So I'm just going to shout her out because she did a great job. And I'm also going to give a shout out to Lee Dong-wook for Touch Your Heart because I thought he played the uptight lawyer to perfection.
Me too. And you see like what else he does where can be like a total like goofball, like ego, like he just. And in real life, I don't think he's at all like that. So it's funny because when I watched Touch Your Heart, I was like, I'd just seen it after Goblin and I was thinking, oh, he must be like that. And then I realized, no, the man has range. I was just behind. Now I know. And I'm going to say An Bo-hyun. So I've seen An Bo-hyun obviously in very dramatic roles like Itaewon Class and See You in My 19th Life. But then he's also been in roles like Military Prosecutor Doberman and Flex X Cop, where he definitely has to play some romantic comedy and even action scenes that are going to have a humorous bent to them. And he does it so well. Like he really can do comedy very well. I think he has good comedic timing and I think he has great physical comedy too. But then of course, I love him. And he can do no wrong in my eyes. Yeah.
I agree.
Is there an actor, actress you would like to see in a rom-com that maybe hasn't done one yet? Or that you have only watched in dramatic roles so far?
For me, Byung Yo-han, I thought he had like really good comic relief in the two serious dramas I've seen him in, which are Mr. Sunshine and Laugh a Minute, Mr. Sunshine and Me Sang. But he was funny in both of them and brought kind of like good vibes. But I would love to see him in a rom-com. I follow him on Instagram. He puts pearl accoutrements on his pet golden doodle. Like he is rom-com material. He boxes and has his dog wear pearl necklaces. Like, let's do this.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm gonna say first of all, Lee Ha-joon. He's been in more. He's been in less serious dramas, but I want to see him as a lead in a rom-com. I mean,
yes,
Bad and
please.
Crazy, I could maybe argue was a romance. But no, I want to see him as a romantic lead. Yeah,
It's
although
a
I
different
think
kind of
he is
romance.
in one. Like, I cannot remember now, but I'm almost positive I've been seeing like table readings where he is in a rom-com coming up as the male lead. Okay, and then I also would say Udo Wan, because I want to see him in a good comedy lead role. That's not Joseon Attorney.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would love to see.
I'm almost
Lee
positive
Ha-jun as
he's
a
in
romantic
one.
lead. God,
I just need
so
to.
much.
I can't remember what it's called. You know what? Maybe I'll look it up.
Find it. Yeah, and that's how I am with my two. Like these, there's stuff out there that exists, I'm sure, but I want them in like a modern rom-com, and that is Kim Woo Bin. Like, please give me like today's Kim Woo Bin in a rom-com, and I feel like I want this, but I'm not sure if I want this. But I want to see what would happen with this. Lee Joon Gi in a modern rom-com.
He would be good.
Yeah, I mean, like, because we get like a little taste of that, I think, a little bit in Lawless Lawyer, and I know that he has been in stuff that I'm sure is like comedy, but I'm like talking like I want a new romantic comedy.
Okay, real quick, Lee Ha-jun is in a drama called The Midnight Romance in Hagwon, and that is out in May. So he is in one coming up. I know.
Ooh.
I hope he's.
That is.
I hope he's
exciting.
a total charmer. I'm sure he will be.
I want basically I want Kay in a rom-com.
Yeah.
I want Kay from Bad and Crazy in a rom-com.
Okay, well, everyone, thanks for listening. I know this went really long. This was a really long one. Actually, our the program
It's a
we
fun
record
topic
on,
though. Like,
it like pulled a Netflix. It actually just popped up a window that was like, "Are you still here? Because if not, we're like gonna shut down." I'm still here. I know.
That's hilarious.
I know.
Oh my God, we're here. We're finishing up. Thank you for listening, everybody. We will see you next time.
Annyeong.
Annyeong. Kamsahamnida. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Where can you find us outside the pod? Head on over to afternoonadelight.com. That's AFTERNOONADELIGHT.com. You'll find links to all our social media, our book recs, K-pop and K-skincare recs, and if you want even more Afternoona Delight, because really who doesn't, you can join our Patreon, where you can choose the patron level that's right for you. Join in daily K-drama conversations, listen to bonus podcast episodes just for patrons, and participate in our monthly live K-drama support group via Zoom. We can't wait for you to be a part of the community. Until next time, annyeong!